Alright, quiz 4 solutions. Number 1 here, we're just asked to evaluate these expressions. That is, say what number these things are equal to. This first one will probably be missed by some people. This is really tricky. It looks like this is -2, that whole thing squared, but it's not. Because of the order of operations, we do exponents before multiplication. So this is the negative of 2 squared. In other words, this is equal to the negative of 2 times 2, which is -4. Maybe I'll even write, note, -2 squared is equal to +4. But this answer is -4. Okay? Fractions inside fractions. This one kind of looks confusing, but what our trick will be is to think about this like parentheses. So think of as 1/16 minus 1/24 in parentheses divided by 3/12. And that'll really emphasize that you're supposed to do the subtraction first. So we can do that subtraction if we find a prime factorization for 16. What you get is that it's 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. And if you do that again for 24, 24 is 2 times 12, which is 3 times 4 and 2 times 2. So this is 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And if you do that, it makes it a lot easier to figure out 1/16 minus 1/24. We could say 1/16 minus 1/24 is really 1 divided by 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 minus 1 divided by 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. And so what we can do is get a common denominator by multiplying this side by 3/3 and this side by 2/2. And now what I have is the exact same denominator in both cases, 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3. So what I get is this thing over here is equal to 3 over whatever my denominator is. Well, my denominator is whatever these used to be times 2. So it's 3/48 minus 2/48 divided by 3/12. That is 1/48 divided by 1/12. And the way you divide fractions is a lot like multiplying fractions, but you multiply by the reciprocal. So you get to here. And then you could say 48 is 4 times 12. So this 12 and this 12 cancel. And what you're left with is just 1/4 for your final answer. This is getting hard to follow, so let me try to add a few notes. So this is the first problem, and this is all the second problem. And maybe I can switch colors and take care of the third problem. Third problem says, what's 6 plus 6 divided by 3 times 2 minus 1? Okay, this one's hard because of order of operations. What we want to do first are parentheses, we don't have any, and then exponents, which we don't have, and then multiplication and division. Multiplication and division is a tie, so you read them left to right. So what we're going to do is 6 plus, leave that alone. The first multiplication or division is right here, 6 divided by 3. So we change that into a 2 and leave everything else alone. And then from there, we look for any more multiplication or division, and we got one. So it's 6 plus 4, 2 times 2, minus 1. And now I don't have any multiplication or division, so we do addition and subtraction. We go left to right. 6 plus 4 is 10. And 10 minus 1 is 9. Alright, and then this guy, same thing, order of operations, parentheses. Let's deal with what's inside the parentheses first. 4 minus 3 is 2. But, wow, so much wrong with that. 4 minus 3 is not 2, and this is not asking for 4 minus 3. 4 minus 1 is 3, so we have 3 squared. 5 minus 3 is 2, so we got 2 squared. So now we take care of exponents before we subtract. 3 squared is 9, 2 squared is 4, and 9 minus 4 gives us 5. So that's the end of the problems on part 1. See, part 2 here, we're asked to simplify this algebraic expression. So we have a big mess. Remember, when you're simplifying algebraic expressions, first look inside the parentheses and add like terms. The bad news is there are no like terms in this first parentheses, so we'll just leave it alone. But in this next parentheses, we can, well, not yet, we can put this x squared and this x squared together. Right? These are like terms. So we got 2 of these x squareds, and then minus x minus 1. And now we can distribute, sure, let's change color. We can distribute this 3 to each of these 3 terms. And distribute this negative 2, make sure you distribute the negative 2 to each of these 3 terms. So what we get is 6x squared plus 9x minus 15 minus 4x squared. Negative 2 times 2 is negative 4. Negative 2 times negative 1 gives you plus 2x. I think that's a tricky one. I could see a lot of people getting that wrong, but a negative times a negative is a positive, and this is 1x. Negative 1x. And negative 2 times negative 1 is positive 2. Then we can go one more step and combine like terms again. We have 6 of these x squared things, and then we have negative 4 of these x squared things. So net we have 2 of these x squared things. We got 9 of these x's and 2 more of these x's, so we got 11 of these x's. And negative 15 plus 2 is negative 13. So that right there is your answer. All right, finally, last part. Evaluate this algebraic expression when x equals negative 2. Okay, so what you do when you're evaluating these is you replace the x in parentheses with the negative 2. So what this question is asking you is to figure out this mess right here. And this isn't easy to do. I chose one that was kind of hard here. Got to make sure you do your order of operations. There's nothing to do inside the parentheses, but we do want to take care of these exponents. Negative 2 squared is 4. So I have negative 2 times 4. Sure, let's leave this for one more step. Note, negative 2 squared is 4 here, but way up top here, we had negative 2 squared, which is negative 4. So those parentheses are really important. They change the value of the expression. Anyways, negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. A negative times a positive is a negative. And negative 3 times negative 2, a negative times a negative, gives us a positive. So negative times a positive is a negative. Negative times a negative is a positive. Negative 8 plus 6 is negative 2, which is the final answer. You can either start at negative 8 and go 6 spots to the right on the number line, or you could switch these around using commutativity and say this is 6 minus 8, which is negative 2. Either way, you get negative 2, and that's the end of the quiz.